Well, grant my people, welcome back to Normal One TV. Now, there's some breaking news I want to bring to you, which generally I don't even do. But it's just been announced a few moments ago that the 1.4 billion stake in Liverpool, headed by this consortium, which includes parties from Jeff Bezos and Facebook and this British Indian owner, that previous owner of QPR, have signed, sealed and delivered this stake into Liverpool. Now, what does this mean for everybody? Well, I'm just going to give you my opinion on this, and that's all it is. It's just an opinion. This is the end game for FSG. This is why I look at it, because for a long time now, I think FSG have always had this mindset or a plan of selling Liverpool at some point or other, and it would make sense because everything has a lifespan of things, you know, and good business people know when to act and when to decide to call it a day. And we've had them since 15 years now, something like that. And to be fair, you know, we were on the precipice of becoming a club that would go into administration had it not been for them. So in that regard, thank you very much. And they've probably realised now that we're taking the club as far as they can do. But also the landscape's changed. I think the transfers we're seeing right now in terms of £100 million for this, like average players, etc., and PSR or whatever that is called nowadays, and how it's operated, and their idea of potentially getting to a multi-club strategy clearly didn't pan out, hence why we saw Michael Edwards deciding that it was not for him. So probably the idea behind that was what they wanted to go in terms of growing Liverpool on and off the pitch. But clearly that was a problem. And I think a couple of clubs who are jointly owned have seen these kind of issues or have struggled because of that, which meant they had to pivot. And this is their pivot. The pivot is selling a good chunk of Liverpool to a consortium. And I think as well, probably reading between the lines, that this only increases the value of Liverpool to when they eventually do sell, because I think they've got a figure in their mind of what Liverpool's worth. And I won't be surprised in their minds, they're probably thinking that whilst we're probably looking at about 4.5 billion that we're worth right now, they certainly think that they are probably close to double that. I think that's what they want. Hence why there's a lot of work been going on, I think, with all these commercial partnerships, increasing the value of the club year on year, the revenues, getting ourselves out of debt. I know there's obviously a little bit, most businesses have a little bit of debt which they can service, which is why they've been shrewd in the transfer market, which is why we're probably not seeing so much of a knee-jerk reaction in terms of paying the money, because they are playing it for the long game. And it probably means that because of that, that maybe our transfer window looks a bit bleak this time around, and potentially next season too, for this kind of transition to happen. So for us, it's just another waiting game, I'm afraid, guys. But I do get the feeling that this consortium are in it for the long term. They're in it to kind of eventually take over, and they're in it in a serious kind of way. There is football people involved. As I said, this previous owner of QPR, he has experience in managing football affairs, right? So that's a tick in a box. Whereas the likes of FSG, the Americans, they'd have. I think they struggle to see what shape of football is at times. They're no longer present. You don't see them anymore now in Anfield. They've clearly lost interest, and I think that's really telling, and especially for fans like us, that we want to be connected. We want to be shoulder to shoulder with anybody that believes in Liverpool Football Club. You know, good, bad, or indifferent, or creed, colour, race, doesn't matter which. If we all want our club to succeed and do well and be one of the most successful teams in the world, or clubs in the world, you know, if we all share that vision, we're all family in that regard, aren't we? And obviously for what Liverpool stand for too, that's the main thing. And I think this is where the disconnect of FSG really is, which is why probably Michael Edwards got it initially when the first time round, and you know, we brought him back in again. You know, Klopp was just a masterstroke by FSG with it. You know, it was under their tenure that we got Klopp, right? And unfortunately, under their tenure, we got Slot at the same time. But it's all down to money again, of course. And I like to believe that this time round, it's not so much about the money, because when you've got a player like Jeff Bezos in your corner, he's got too much money to anyway. And I think it's all about success. I think it's all about legacy. I think it's all about what he can do for football in the next level. Now, bear in mind, this guy has got, obviously, he's involved with the sort of the streaming of the Premier League games on Amazon, for example, company that he owns. Is that conflicts of interest further down the line if we decide to go down streaming our games? Does it change LFC TV, for example, how that looks like? You know, does that become a different type of subscription service because you subscribe to Amazon? I don't know. I'm just thinking out of the box here. But commercially, from that perspective, I think this is where football's going to go. I mean, Netflix is a massive player now, and they're starting to touch ground on doing sort of a match of the day type of alternatives on their platform. Gary Lineker's on there, Shearer, everybody else, you know, all the guys at, well, Lineker, obviously he's no longer part of the BBC, but that's an angle that he's going, and he did that over the World Cup, right? They're trying to make it more relaxed, chilled, and they're sitting there with glasses of wine, just like me, actually. Just sort of put that one in there. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. Liverpool has to constantly evolve. It has to survive way past my lifetime and my grandchildren's lifetime, my great-great-great-grandchildren. They've got to stay the course. And this is a step in that direction. And I'm trying to get loads of things off my head here at the moment, so if it's all over the place, I apologise. But this announcement is huge. This should send the shit up all our rivals now. Now, I know that the Man City of this world is and Newcastle are owned by people with loads of money to get rid of. They're state owned practically, right? We're not. However, the idea is the same in terms of, I think this consortium's coming in to win. And as I say, maybe shift this whole football industry, how it looks. 30% or third of ownership is a big stake. This is huge, guys. Don't don't let this be I've heard this all before kind of thing. And, and bearing in mind, we've had sort of murmurs of this happening a couple of years ago, around about November time, I think it was, where there was talk that they were putting a club up for sale, if I remember. So it's always been there. Even Duncan's mentioned this. He's always said that the club's up for sale, as far as FSG is concerned. So I think that this is a vehicle for FSG to go after what they really want to do, and they want to prop up their baseball interests, as well as their NFL, as well as basketball, and this new sort of thing that's happening in terms of that particular sporting industry, which we don't give a fuck about anyway. All we give a fuck about is Liverpool and what that looks like. And so having football-based people coming in as well would make a big difference. And as we all know, when a player, coach, manager, a representative, anybody hierarchy that is brought into the idea of Liverpool, success happens. We know this, as history tells us, right? David Moore back in the day, we were successful under his stewardship because he absolutely loved Liverpool, and he only had a certain ceiling where to go until he eventually had to sell out, because he knew he couldn't take it any further. We were lucky and blessed to having managers that brought into this club, and even players themselves. Steven Gerrard, when we weren't doing so great, brought into this. Well, he's born and bred Liverpool, right? We all seem to gain a lot of success when those kind of elements happen. Jurgen Klopp in recent times, Rafa Benitez, probably at the start didn't really buy into it, but he got it, and when he did, he delivered as well. And it was under the stewardship, ownership that we had, that got rid of Benitez, because again, he now comes back to Liverpool on a yearly basis, obviously for the Hillsborough thing and stuff. So so I'm hoping that this consortium, they're not going to have operational control. That's not what I'm saying, but eventually it will do. But it will. This is just a conduit. This is start of the end game. If you want to be Avengers about it, this is what it is. This is the end game. And I think this is all positive. We are slow burners, generally speaking, right? But nothing would please me more to usurp Man City in terms of the wealth that they've got. Compete, toe to toe on a financial level to say, right, we need to spend whatever money to get the player that we want, without having to sort of scrimp and scrape. And don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing either. We need to have we need to do both. Do it strategically, do it well. But if you're in a shooting match, we should come out winners, and that's what should scream the sort of strength and the size of Liverpool. So I'm happy about this. I really am, and it's just a matter of time now until we see how this unfolds. Maybe this is now the step change that we need in terms of the transfer market, and I think perhaps this kind of deal that's been happening in the background has probably stunted our transfer window. And I wonder whether Liverpool and the hierarchy themselves are waiting for this to kind of be finalised, because they did say it would take a matter of days this week. The media was all over it saying it could be completed, or it will be out there 100% in terms of it happening. Once that announcement has now been made today, perhaps we will now see in the next week or so some serious manoeuvres in the transfer market, because it starts to release things. It starts to, I don't know, a bit of a domino effect, because we've been really, really slow in the transfer market. So, just a prediction on my part, but I think we're going to start seeing some movements now. some proper movements so that we can close this transfer window out and start building again and start doing things on the pitch in the right way, where Iriola can actually now concentrate on slowly building up and formulating his team in the way that we want to see it. Great news, guys. I mean, what do you think? You tell me. You tell me. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. And look, we live in a capitalist world, right? I'm very much a socialite. I like, to trade things off in the sense of I'll help you, you can help me kind of thing, and we help each other. But we are in this world of, it's all about money, unfortunately. Really, unfortunately. And we just have to adapt to the times. And so I hope we find our roots. What I mean by that is, if eventually this consortium does take a Liverpool, that we have our essence still burning brightly, or pretty much just come back to that, so to speak, ticket prices. I know that, Spirit Shankly have written an open letter to kind of, to this investment, because they want the essence of the club, and I understand that. And some people will argue that they're a pain in the arse, etc. And I can understand that too. But we all fight for the same thing. We just want our club to mean something, that we go in and we're proud of, and not just on the way we play football, but we're solid, we're stable, we can compete, we can do the right things for the right people, be the right club, not a manufactured one, not a cash cow. Something we attracted this consortium on a football basis, as well as obviously from a financial gain. And clearly, I think FSG they do not understand the language that we speak in terms of football and what Liverpool means. I think they find it really difficult to grasp it. They don't understand. They're not going to walk down into Liverpool city centre, for example, and start shaking hands with people and having a beer with them. They won't. They couldn't care shit. They're not interested in that. But Klopp was happy to sit with anybody and talk to them, which is really important. That is right across the board, let alone not our own clubs, not our own club. Man City, Man United, Arsenal, everybody connects to that. They understand it. And I hope that this investment in this consortium, when they do eventually take over Liverpool, and I think they will, they are far more in touch with us as fans, because we all know this. Without fans, football is nothing. We disappear tomorrow, what's the point? Doesn't drive no revenues, does it? Doesn't, where the money come from? It makes no sense whatsoever. So it's important that they grip this. So, what does that mean? In a nutshell, I'm going to conclude it with this. It's doomsday. It's doomsday for FSG, and the clock is ticking down. Just like the Doomsday film. This is what's happening. We're going to see a whole new thing happening, and I hope it's rapid. This time next year, when I'm talking to you, could be a whole new Liverpool, and I hope it is. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I just wanted to jump on a bandwagon and just give you my thoughts and feelings, and listen, comment, please it'd be nice, just oh, and actually, this is a shout out to one of my guys on the chat that basically said couldn't recognise me because I didn't have my hat. Well, guess what, bro? Hat, shades, and wine is back. So you can't recognise me now. You never will, my bro. I'll catch you in the chat there for sure. You know who you are. Anyway, I digress. Listen, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me. Please like, comment, subscribe. Can't get my words out. Share, do all that lovely stuff. Be great to kind of like, get more than, 4 comments. Maybe 20 views would be lovely. Or even maybe just a few more subscribers. Ain't gonna hurt, is it? I don't charge you for it. Hopefully this is helpful to you. But anyway, chaps, listen, and lasses, look after each other. And as always, do I need to say it? Yeah, I'm gonna. You never walk alone.